Now in today's video, we're going to run through my final team selection ahead of FPL Game Week 1. Now, of course, before we dive into today's video, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as we are ridiculously close to hitting 16k. By the time this video comes out, we might have already hit it. But of course, the journey just keeps on going. Then, of course, we'll be trying to hit 17.5. So if you do want to help us out on the channel, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, as it means the absolute world to me. As you can see on screen right now, I'm in Fantasy Football Hub. This is not the draft I'm going to be showcasing today. This is another one that I've kind of been tinkering with. It's a backup one. As you can see here, the AI absolutely loves it. It gave it a 98% rating, which is really, really good. Of course, there's a few question marks in here. Like, I'm not an overly big fan of Strand Larson and Wolves. I just don't think they're going to do that well this season. However, they do play 3 of the newly promoted kind of sides within the opening 12, so he might be a decent option. Dewsbury Hall as well, we just all kind of question his minutes. I feel that's, you know, what most people are kind of in a position there, because if he does start at 5 million on corners, on free kicks, he could be a really, really good option at that price point. But the reason I want to show you this, of course, Fantasy Football Hub at the moment is on 50% sale. I highly recommend you guys go and get it for the start of the season. It's honestly one of the best tools you can use to help you achieve a really, really good finish. I used it for large parts last season. It helped me achieve my top 10k finish. Like I said, it's on sale right now. Head to the link in the description. Go get yourself a membership and hopefully reap the rewards of it. Now, moving away from the backup draft, let's actually take a look at the draft I am thinking about lining up with come Game Week 1. Now, there has been a few changes since, of course, my team selection video, and they are within the back line. So it is going to be Verbergen in goal. I'd really like to have Sanchez. I just think he's genuinely just a very easy player that we could just lock for the remainder of kind of, you know, up until where I want a wild card in like 12 or 13. He'd be absolutely perfect. I think he's only got a handful of bad fixtures, and even with goalkeepers, I don't really like rotating. One of the bad fixtures as well is where we're planning on free hitting in Game Week 6, so I would actually miss one of his bad fixtures. But unfortunately, the budget just isn't quite there, and I feel if any position is going to have a little bit of a downgrade or a hit in budget, it's going to be goalkeepers. They're the lowest upside position for scoring, so of course we're going to take out our Sanchez, and we're going to bring in Verbergen, as you can see here. I don't mind it. Probably one of the best 4.5s, with Kelleher looking a little bit shaky heading into Game Week 1, so overall, I don't mind it as a pick. We've gone for big Virgil van Dijk in here, and I want to have this 6 million slot available, purely because I wonder what happens if Frimpong goes off. Is there going to be a massive clamber to get him? Lots of people have already kind of got all the money spread out. We could have an easy route to go and get him. Of course, as well, there's other decent options around the 6. There's Cucurella that we potentially could consider, given those Chelsea strong fixtures. There's also, 8 Nuri, Gvardiol. There's plenty of decent options. But the main reason that I'm liking Virgil in here, I think, there are some difficult fixtures that Arsenal won in Game Week 3. Not ideal. However, once we get to Game Week 7, I would be looking to, of course, make that switch to Gabriel. And it would be the same price point. So it would be a very, very easy and nice switch to go and do that if, of course, I did want to go down that avenue. Anderson, for me, is probably going to be one of the top scoring 4.5 million defenders within the game this year. His DEFCON numbers were great last season. I'm a little bit surprised that they priced him at 4.5. And Fulham's expected goals conceded numbers were the 5th best in the league, but they only managed to keep 5 clean sheets. So you do imagine if they put up similar numbers, they're probably going to get a little bit more fortunate this season, and of course come away with a few more clean sheets as well. Murillo, again, an absolute beast in terms of those defensive contribution numbers. Forest fixtures are great, and I feel like everybody is going to have at least one Forest pick within their side as well. Then finally, we've gone with Pedro. I was really impressed with his Super Cup performance. I know he was kind of playing in a new system that I don't think Spurs are going to utilise, but it is something that Thomas Frank did use at Brentford during games last season and the season before, and during his whole stay really with Brentford. He did use, of course, that fullback system where you did see, the fullbacks be really, really pushed up high. The back 5, they use it against top sides. So maybe even with Porro's difficult fixture in match day 2 against Manchester City, we might actually be able to play him. He's also on free kicks and corners. It is looking like Eze is going to be poised for this move, so that does downgrade him. However, I would like to keep this slot open at that 5.5 to potentially take upon on Munoz come around Game Week 4 when Crystal Palace's fixtures take a really nice turn as well. So I think for now he could be a decent placeholder, decent clean sheets, and of course could be very, very good with the set pieces. Our final defender is going to be Esteve at 4 million. He's just going to tick along nicely, and if we do want that replacement for Porro against Manchester City, we could just throw him in there, of course, as he's got Sunderland. Heading into the midfield, and this is an area that I haven't changed for quite a few drafts now. I'm really happy with this overall midfield. You've got Anderson, who for me is just going to tick on really nicely. I would have preferred probably to go for Ryan, as he is that little bit more probably upside pick. However, with, of course, us having a pretty weak bench, as you can see here, we're going to have to just go for those players that do play every single week and are just going to tick along nicely. And I do feel Anderson definitely falls within that bracket. That's why he's made it into the side. So I'm pretty happy to have him at 5.5. Obviously, if Dewsbury Hill starts to look good at 5, there is that ability to, of course, go and downgrade him. But I don't really want to be wasting transfers on those enabling players anyway. So Anderson probably is just going to be a long-term pick within the side. Salah's in there as my captain. We'll come on to discuss captaincy and the reason that I've selected Salah. I know a lot of people are looking at going without him, but we'll discuss the reasons that I have selected him at the start. Cole Palmer as well, we'll also discuss him. Florian Wirtz, I think, could just be a great pickup this season. A lot of the models are really fancying him to do exceptionally well at the start of this campaign as well. I think for Liverpool, he's just going to be that link-up player that's going to put everything together and be like a mini KDB, really. He's going to be one of those players that just ticks along very nicely, plays for one of the best attacking units, and Bournemouth have been absolutely ripped apart this transfer market, especially within those defensive areas. Losing your two main centre-backs and a new goalkeeper within there, probably going to take a little bit of time to gel. So I think Liverpool at home in the first game will do very well. They'll probably want a bit of revenge as well from the Community Shield and losing that. So I think Wirtz and Salah could both be fantastic options for game week 1. And Bruno Fernandes, maybe I'm going to be wrong on this one. Maybe, you know, he's going to play a little bit more of a regressive role this season and maybe he's not going to get the same amount of attacking outputs. But even still, if he's playing that more aggressive role, there's a high probability he's going to be coming away with defensive contributions. So getting a penalty taker with defensive contributions that can, of course, still just pop up with open play goals feels like a right cheat code. I feel, you know, the kind of narrative for Bruno Fernandes has massively shifted over the course of pre-season because I think more and more people are kind of understanding what an amazing asset this guy could be this season. Obviously, in game week 3, he will be like one of our potential captaincy options as well. If Burnley look bad and if United look good, he very much could be that role. Of course, if it doesn't quite work out and he is playing a lot more regressive role, the DEFCON numbers aren't there, he's not quite doing it, he is at that 9 million where, of course, we can just downgrade to like a Rodgers, an Eze, if that move to Spurs goes through. So we've got the option. So I think starting with the premium midfielders here, it gives us a lot of flexibility just to downgrade to the best pick, really, after a few more weeks and see which one of those picks is really cooking. Because I think around some of the other ones at the 7.5, there's quite a bit of doubt at the moment, especially around Eze, Rodgers' fitness and stuff like that. So I think rather than going with doubt, going with players that you know are going to score well and probably going to do exceptionally well over the opening 5, then of course make your decision. Have to take that out of you and just stick with these players, you know what I mean? I just think it's that easy. In terms of the captaincy then, we're going to head over back to the Fantasy Football Hub website. You can't quite see Watkins' numbers for here, but we don't need them for game week 4. I actually need to extend this out by one more week. Give me a quick second to game week 5. There we go. Readjust that, make sure you guys can see it. Yeah, wonderful stuff. Everybody can see everything. Again, another feature that, of course, you can go and take a full advantage of over on the Fantasy Football Hub website. Like I said, link in the description if you want to go and check it out. But as we can see here, Salah, look at the numbers that he's putting up. Game week 1, he's going to be the best captain with 8.6. Nobody even gets close to him. Game week 2 is still fancying him. I know a lot of people are, of course, going to be looking at Erling Haaland, but we've got Cole Palmer with this side, so I don't mind that. With West Ham, if they, you know, are pretty poor defence like they were last season, definitely could be a good route to points. Then, of course, we've got game week 3, not an easy fixture. But as you can probably see, if I move my arm out the way, but Bruno Fernandes is in here for our team. Burnley at home, sorry, so there's a great captaincy option. We've also got Palmer with Fulham at home. Game week 4, Salah, you're probably going to be looking at a triple captaincy opportunity. Game week 5, back to Mohamed Salah. This is the reason that I've selected Salah. I just think he's an easy captain for minimum 3 of the opening 5. Could be even 4 if Newcastle looks shoddy after game week 1. That is why I've selected him. I just think for me personally, he is just going to be one of those players that is just an easy go-to captain. If it doesn't work out after 5, he doesn't look as good, of course we can shift him on, move him about, drop him somewhere else. I think it is genuinely that easy, but I really like Mohamed Salah. I like the midfield that we've got here. I don't think I can see this changing, to be honest, come the deadline. But let's move into that last and final position, the striker. Okay, completing the lineup, it is going to be Ollie Watkins. 9 million for me. It is a little bit expensive, but I genuinely think he's the second best forward in the game outside of Erling Haaland. Of course, Haaland probably not achievable for most people to get given his price point. And of course, with that price point, you're going to be looking at captaincy most weeks. So Ollie Watkins for me at 9 million is the best option in terms of forwards. Every other forward for me has something, has a problem, the fixtures aren't there, the team's not scoring goals, the team's not creating opportunities, they're linked with a transfer away, there's injury news, there's competition. Every other forward has that within the game right now. Watkins doesn't. The fixtures are great. There's no competition. He's been banging goals in pre-season. He's fully fit and available. Like, this is what I mean. It just saves me having to make a decision and pick some iffy forward that I'm not 100% on by going for Watkins. Like, he just is going to be a very easy player that I can just hold probably up until game week 6, game week 7 and not really have to think about him. Of course, the beauty of it is, if any of the 7.5s really start to go off, or of course maybe a 6.5 or a 6 emerges, we can drop Watkins down. We can very easily drop Watkins down. Maybe Isak doesn't get that move to Liverpool. Etatike becomes the best striker option within the game at 8.5. We can downgrade Wirtz, go to a Rodgers, boom, straight in. We've got that ability, that flexibility with Watkins. That's why I like him as a pick. He gives us lots of flexibility within the striker position, but also I think if we just want to hold him, and I think he will actually do quite well as a pick as well. So overall, I'm a big fan of Watkins. I really like him at the 9 million price tag as well. Doesn't really have the captaincy appeal. That is probably his only downside of paying the 9 million. No captaincy appeal from Watkins. But I think, like I said, I'm paying it for the flexibility and I'm paying for the good fixtures and the security of Ollie Watkins being a star man at the start of this season. Let's go and take a look then at what Fantasy Football Hub did rate this team then. As you can see, I've put it into the AI rating. Of course, you can go and get that done for free in the description. And this has given me a 97% AI rating. So the kind of backup one that I was looking at gave a 98. This one has achieved a 97. So still a pretty overall decent score. The AI is still a very much a kind of a big fan of it. And I am as well. I think obviously the pros and cons of the 4-5-1, right? The pros, I don't have to touch any of the iffy forwards I'm a little bit unsure of. I get some of the best midfielders within the game, as you can see here. I've got probably 3 of the best, going to probably be best scoring defenders this season if they're all staying fully fit and DEFCON is overpowered as we believe it to be. And let's move on to the cons. The cons is I don't have another forward. My bench is very weak. But realistically, if I can just sit on my hands for 5 weeks, run through this team, play with this team for 5 weeks, I think we'll be fine. I genuinely think we'll be fine. Let's have a quick flick through on Fantasy Football Hub so you can see what I mean. Game week 1, obviously we know what we're working with. Game week 2, obviously a Stev would come in for Porro. So not a bad team again. Pretty happy with that across the board. Game week 3, I probably would bring Porro back in. Yeah, Porro would definitely come back in for a Stev. Not an ideal back 4 here. Obviously, we've got 2 difficult fixtures for our defenders. Verge has got Arsenal. Anderson has got Chelsea. So not great fixtures for the back 4. But the rest of the team looks pretty decent, to be honest. And I think most people are going to be in a similar position. Everybody's going to have, you know, not a Liverpool defender, but at least 2 Liverpool players, I would say, at least within their sides. So everyone's going to have, you know, that Arsenal fixture. Or if you've got, you know, an Arsenal player, you've got Liverpool. Game week 4, obviously the team back to looking pretty decent. Again, we're going to have to play Murillo and Anderson against Arsenal. That's probably the only downside of this side. Bruno with City. So again, there's a few iffy problems around it. But overall, I'm still pretty happy with how this side is feeling and of course looking at the moment. Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. Of course I will be live today for the deadline from about 1 o'clock, so I'll be doing team ratings, I'll be answering your guys' questions, trying to get through as many as we possibly can before of course the deadline. And yeah, make sure you go into Fantasy Football Hub, getting your team rated as well. And thank you very much for all your support across pre-season as well. You've absolutely smashed it out of the park. Let's see if we can continue that support into the new Premier League season.